First of all, Lucille, thank you for doing this and congratulations on being selected for this award. I think you are indeed a deserving candidate, and I'm really pleased to be able to talk to you today a little bit.
And thank you so much for having me and for me being selected. What a great honor it is to be awarded the Frommini Award. So that's a dream come true in some senses.
That's kind of you to say, and I wish that we could be in person and hear from you and hear you, hear your talk. But we thought that this would be a good way to highlight all our awardees by doing these interviews and have you share a little bit about yourself and your career. So thanks for doing this. So I just want to start with the kind of beginning of your career. You got your doctoral degree in epidemiology. You were the first Black American woman to receive a PhD in epidemiology. So how did you decide to go that route?
Interestingly, that's a great question to ask. I started off working at Fox Chase Institute for Cancer Research. That's what it was called when I was a co-op student at Drexel University doing my bachelor's and master's degree. And I had the opportunity to be exposed to epidemiology, working with the scientists that I worked with there. And I found that very exciting. I had been involved in animal model studies. And then when I moved to the population studies, I really began to find more intrigue in that area. So I would say that being at Fox Chase really stimulated me and got me going. Of course, now it's Fox Chase Comprehensive Cancer Center. So I started when it was a smaller cancer center.
Okay, great. And you've accomplished a lot in your career, which is, why you're receiving this award. So can you talk a little bit about what accomplishment or thing that you've done that you're most proud of?
I'm most proud of the work that I've continued to do in the minority communities. I was studying minorities and disparities before it was ever popular. I was doing this in my master's work and my PhD work, and this was back in the late 70s and the early 80s where this type of research was really not even popular. I was like one of the few people that was focused in this area. So just to always be true and wanting to give back to the community. I've always wanted to give back to the community. And the best way for me to do it was to engage the community in studies, clinical research, clinical trials, epidemiological studies, anything to get people of color to understand the importance of their contribution to science. And that's been my whole mantra, I think, my entire career.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So what, I think that's a really important point that you're not talking about studying communities of color, but doing research with communities of color. So, kind of through the collaboration. So what kind of advice would you have for a young person entering the field about how to do that effectively and how to do that in a way that's really resonates with the community and meets their needs, not just the research needs?
Yes, we don't want to get into helicopter science where we swirl in, grab the data, grab the blood, and go away. I think the best way to get people involved is the way we're doing it now. We make certain that our community partners at the table with us. They talk to us. They keep their pulse on the community, and we are tied so closely to them that they can tell us what's going on, what's important, what people are thinking about, what type of studies would be successful, what would be a disaster if you did it in our community. And I think that's all relevant. So if we bring in undergrads, graduates, medical students, postdocs into this whole mix and let them watch and see how doing your study will be so much more effective if you work with the community. And we have a strong community advisory council that really is so important and key to everything we do. And I've had a community advisory board or council ever since I started, because I've always felt the need to keep the community in touch with what we're doing or trying to do, and us being in touch with what they say should and shouldn't be done. For example, one of our studies that we did, exercise intervention, I was a runner. So I'm saying, well, can we run 2 or 3 miles? And they're looking at me like, have you lost your mind? let's do something different, let's do a walking club, something that I really don't like walking, but I've begun in my older ages to enjoy walking a little bit more than running. And you have to listen to what's best interventions, what's the best things we can do. So I think with the people, the students and the faculty that are interested in health disparities, interested in minority health, they see that even if you're a basic scientist, if you want to collect a sample on a person, or you want the blood that you've collected, we want you to understand the process. And then people begin to understand the importance, the relevance of the entire um, continuum of engagement from the community to the academic center. And I think it works. I've seen it work so much, so I really enjoy that. And I will keep that going.
That's great. And I think, those are that's such an important approach to really engage people in the work. And as I think about, kind of some of the skepticism about science that exists in our country today, I think that's critical no matter what kind of communities you're working with, is that, the idea of engaging people in the process and showing them how the science can help them, and also listening to what it is they need.
Can I say
So,
one thing about that
sure.
engaging? My community advisory council, we just met recently, and I wanted to, at all times, educate them about the importance of the COVID vaccine. Because many people, we have a very diverse group, people of color as well. And in our diverse group, it was like, no, we're not getting that vaccine. No. I kept talking about it and talking about it and said, this is my experience. This is what happened to me. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. And I was so thrilled to hear people at the last meeting say, because of you constantly educating us and telling us the importance. And when you say that you don't want to get it, but yet you can tell me that Blacks are dying at a higher rate, what message are you sending? So they have turned around and are now registering to get the vaccine. So I think that's also a big help. And education is so important, just constantly educating people. And I'm educated constantly as well.
That's great. That's great. So, I would wondering, kind of going back to young people, you talked about involving, postdocs and trainees in this process. And if you were kind of talking to a young person who was considering the field of cancer prevention and cancer epidemiology as a career, so what would you tell them to convince them that it was a great idea? What sort of new and exciting opportunities would you describe to them?
Cancer prevention is such a broad area. If you think about anybody in your family that has a disease or a comorbidity, if I'm talking to young children, I always talk about the idea of being a detective. How can I help find something, find a cure, or find a way of reducing that disease impact in the family? It's better to treat cancer. When you hear the word cancer, people are afraid, but if they hear high blood pressure, oh, we can live with it. We hear diabetes, oh, we can live with it. But when you hear about cancer, try to figure out ways of making that big C a little c so that we can live with the disease. So if you can inspire people to see the future in terms of, oh my goodness, just talking about screening. Oh, well, people don't get screened. Oh, I've gone once to be screened, but I didn't go repeatedly. I didn't adhere to anything. Trying to invoke that feeling or knowledge that you can make a difference if you can discover an area that's of interest to you and figure out how to reduce that burden. It won't be a huge increment by one person, but the fact that you're trying to go in the right direction, I think makes a big difference. And the goal, can we save lives? Can we help save lives through prevention? And an easy one for a child to understand or a young person to understand is smoking. You know, so I'll give a quick story. When I landed in Nigeria one year for a study, when I got out at the airport, there was a Marlboro man smoking on a horse. Not the typical backdrop for that country, but showing that even the idea of communication, you might have an interest in health communication linked to epidemiology, showing the importance of what messages do to people. So I think there's a role for different people because some people come with different skill sets in cancer epidemiology. and how to maximize it to see you really grab hold of an idea that you can work with for the benefit of that community. So I think that when I talk to people, I just like to encourage them to find something that you really are passionate about and think of ways to slow down or retard that endpoint of that disease. And I think that works for some people because I have a lot of people that are interested in coming to work on some of we focus on prevention and control. They come into work. And if the person has the disease, how do we delay it from going further? Can we retard it? Can we do things? Can we help improve the quality of people's lives? So I think in prevention and control, it gives us such a huge range of activities that can be done that it makes it not boring. People can always come and say, oh, there's something new to do, something different to do. I'm really interested in this and not that. Okay, but let's develop it from beginning to the end. And I think that the ability to engage in so many different components of cancer prevention control, and cancer is such a big field. You have so many directions you can go into. I mean, you think about pain, or you think about nausea, or you think about symptomatic management, or you think about exercise interventions to do weight loss. You can also see the practicality of your work. So I think that's what I enjoy. And that's what I would and do constantly talk to people about. So I have more people interested in cancer prevention and control than probably therapeutics. So I don't know if everybody likes that idea, but I do.
Well, we like that idea at ASPO. We like the idea of promoting cancer prevention and control. So that's terrific. And I love the idea of it being kind of talking about it as solving mysteries and being a detective, and kind of what I hear in your what you're saying is a lot of the fun of it. I mean, we're dealing with a very serious topic, obviously, and something that's very
Yes.
serious for people's lives, but the kind of also the intellectual challenge and fun of trying to find an answer and make people's lives better. So that's very cool. So what do you see as the biggest challenges that are facing our field right now? I mean, that certainly, we talked a little bit before we started recording about some of the challenges our country faces, but how about our field of cancer prevention, which is not really divorced from some of those challenges our country faces, I think.
For new people coming in, junior people, even for the senior people, we face a funding challenge. There's no question there. But we also have to address the pipeline of people really interested in engaging in cancer prevention and control. How do we fuel that pipeline? And because I think that it's important that all people, all races benefit from prevention and control, we've got to get more minorities into the pipeline to be part of this whole cancer prevention and control trajectory. We just have to do it. And we don't have that now. And how do we get that? It's always based on funding. It's also based on role models. There are not a whole lot of people out there, and we have to keep building this pipeline, keep working to try to increase the number of people, because if only one group is gaining access to prevention and control studies or treatments or whatever, and another group is being totally left out, overall, we will not have accomplished much. And I think that's what we have to realize. So people and funding, what else do we need?
That's great. And I know, you have done a lot to help enhance that pipeline of minority investigators through your mentorship and teaching. And that's a really wonderful accomplishment. And actually, when I nominated you for this award, I talked to some of the people that you've mentored to get
I didn't know
ideas. I did. Yes, I did intelligence on you. And but to get some more some more anecdotes and ideas for the nomination letter. And that's one thing that they spoke to, was the importance of your mentorship and the things that you've done. So thank you for that. Is there a teacher or mentor who particularly inspired you in your career and your development?
Yes, at University of Pittsburgh, where I did my PhD training, Lewis Culler was the chairman of the Department of Epidemiology. And when I was a student there, and as you stated at the outset, the first African-American PhD graduate, of course, I didn't know that at the time, but I would tell you that when I was there, I ran up against a lot of racism, being that only student in that arena. And he was the one who protected me from all the noise about racism or no, let her take a master's, a terminal master's, for no reason. And just knowing that he has been supportive. And when you travel to a meeting, whether it was SCR or some of the meetings we went to a long time ago, wherever we went, he made certain that I attended every meeting. He really, not just me, but always took the students and put them out there and made certain that they were on the right path. And like, "Oh, you can give a talk? I want you to give a talk." He always promoted my well-being, promoted my science, promoted me for everything such that I would not be feeling, oh, I'm being discriminated upon. He did just the opposite. He made certain that I was always out front. I was always doing the science, and he was always in my corner. And that to me has always been indelible. You know, I can't ever forget that, or I would be remiss if I didn't say that he was probably the key reason that I had the opportunities that I had to do a lot of work in sub-Saharan Africa. That was because he said, "Do you want to do it?" I said, "Yes." Or if I wanted to attend meetings, or he would go with me and make certain I was giving the right talk and go over what I had to do. So to me, Lucile was the mentor that got me on the right path and kept me on the path. But of course, I've had additional and continue to have additional mentors, because one mentor is not the answer, because we can compartmentalize certain things. But that was to me the major mentor that kept me afloat and made certain that I moved in the right direction.
That's wonderful. What an amazing gift and uh, mentorship experience there. I think that's a great lesson for all of us as we think about what we can do to help our mentees and advance their careers. So that's fabulous. So turning a bit to the fun and personal side. So tell me about what do you like to do when you're not working? Is if there is any time when you're not working or sleeping.
Well, when you're cooped up at home, you're working all the time. It looks like you can't decide when you're in your office or when you're not. But I will say that I have been an avid runner all my life. But I can also say that only about 4 weeks ago I had surgery, so I'm not going to be an avid runner anymore. But
Oh,
I think I'm going to become a biker. That's my new thing, and I like to play golf. So
okay.
so as long as I can do at least the golf, I'll be okay.
That's great. So, have you been able to keep up the golf even during the pandemic times?
No, because what I had surgery for was a result of some exercise injuries. I mean, I always
Oh,
say exercise is good for you, exercise is good for you, but I'm the one who's always been plagued with surgeries for like the last year and a half. So I have 2 more weeks before I can say I'm fully recovered, and then I'm going to go out and see what I can do.
all right. Well, I know you're looking forward to that, and I
Yes,
hope you have a good golf game and you enjoy the biking. You certainly have a lot of good areas for biking around the DC area. So,
yes.
um, Lucile, thank you so much for doing this interview today. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed talking with you, and I hope others enjoy listening. And again, congratulations on the Framini Award. We really are honored to have you as one of our awardees this year.
Thank you so much, and thank ASPO.